Welcome to the Pacific Mystery School. We are deeply immersed in the Western mystery tradition. Here is a pop quiz, a review on Tarot of the Spirit. I'm going to throw out some questions and then see if you can answer them. Okay, we are in the process of learning the structure of Tarot, the structure. And theoretically, this would apply to any standard Tarot deck. So, anyone, what does a standard Tarot deck consist of?
A minor
73?
Oh, okay, well, we got a number and we got a name. So how many cards, how many cards are in a standard Tarot deck?
78.
78? 78. Okay, it's 78 cards in a standard Tarot deck. Okay? So a Tarot deck is a Tarot deck is a Tarot deck. And all Tarot decks have 78 cards. Okay, so of those 78 cards, what is the standard, if you break them into two parts, 78 cards broken into two parts, what are the two parts called?
The minor arcana.
The minor arcana and the major arcana. Okay, what does arcana, the word arcana, mean? Mysteries. The mysteries. Okay, so it's minor arcana, minor mysteries, and major arcana is major mysteries. Okay, each mystery, so the minor mystery cards and major mystery cards, arcana, arcane, hard to grasp. Okay, so mysterious to grasp, mysterious. Okay, so we have some cards that are called minor mystery cards and some cards that are called major mystery cards. Okay, of the minor arcana in every Tarot deck, this applies to all Tarot decks, right? Okay, so the minor mysteries, the minor arcana in every Tarot deck can be broken into two parts. This is like Jeopardy. What are the two parts of the minor arcana?
The four suits.
The 1 through 10 and the family cards or court cards.
Exactly. 4 suits consisting of 10 cards each, and the other cards, which are called family cards, face cards, or court cards, usually. And there are 16 of those, the family cards. Those are a quote at the top of each suit. How many other minor arcana cards are there?
40.
40, exactly. Okay, so because there are 4 suits of 1 through 10, right? Okay, so you've got, in the minor arcana, you've got 4 suits of 1 through 10 plus 16 face cards equals 56 cards. Okay, so that's the 56 minor arcana cards, and that matches any and every Tarot deck. On top of that, you have major arcana cards, major mystery cards. How many major arcana cards are there?
21.
There are 21 plus 1, which makes 22. Okay? And the reason I say 21 plus 1 is because the Fool is number 0, and then 1 through 21, which is why you said 21, because it ends at 21. So, but there are technically 22 major arcana cards. And that is every Tarot deck. All Tarot decks have the same exact structure. Some Tarot decks have 1 extra card. our tarot deck, which is Tarot of the Spirit, has one extra card, making a total of 79 cards. Does anyone know what the one extra card is? The mystery card. Okay, you guys are on it. Okay, it's the mystery card. Okay, and if you just think of the mystery card for a moment in Tarot of the Spirit, what comes to mind when you think of the mystery card? Anything? So this is different. It sets it apart from a regular tarot deck, right? All standard tarot decks have 78 cards. Some have one extra card. Okay, and in our deck it's called the mystery card. It's the only card that has nothing written on it, no label. It has a picture, but no label. Okay, what do you think of when you think of the mystery card in Tarot of the Spirit, if anybody knows?
It corresponds to the 11th sphere on the Tree of Life, which is God.
Oh, and that's a secret. Okay, it corresponds to sphere number 11 on the Tree of Life. It does. Okay, but that's a secret, and so I will return to saying, I will go back to that secret for a second. Okay, there's nothing written about it in the Tarot of the Spirit book. There's one page, and it's very ambiguous. Okay, and the reason for that, a major reason for that, was because Tarot of the Spirit was written, it was published in 1992, and it took 7 years for it to be published. So that's how long ago it was written. And back in the day, we, the students of the Western mystery tradition, I have to return to that in a second, we did not speak of the secret 11th sphere. It was a mystery, and you weren't even supposed to say the name of it or anything about it. It was a mystery school secret. And so eventually what happened in the last 30 years, 35 years, or 40 years, or whatever, some of the secrets in the mystery schools started loosening up as the tarot spread in society and globally and things like that, and the Western mystery tradition is spreading. So some of those secrets started to leak out, and I personally leaked an entire chapter on that particular sphere in my book called Kabbalah and Tarot of the Spirit. It has a whole chapter on it, and that is all about the mystery card. It's all corresponding to the mystery card. And I'll just say on our mystery card that the mystery card has runes on it, and those runes they spell out midwife of birth, death, and karmic transition. And that mystery card is like passing through doorways where a big mystery is going to happen. I call it the overarching card of the entire tarot deck. But that separates it out a little bit from other decks. And I'm going to tell you something funny, that there is another mystery behind why there would be 79 cards in some decks. And this has to do with old technology. Because when Tarot of the Spirit grew up, when it first came about, the technology at the time was that the cards were printed on large sheets. There were only two printing presses in the world that printed these cards. One was in Belgium and one was in Zurich. And they printed them. They were huge presses, and they printed them on large sheets, and with a 4-color separation process, 20 on a sheet. Okay, what's 4 times 20? 80. And so in a tarot deck, you need a title card. So that's going to be 80 minus 1, right? And now you got an extra space on that sheet. Do you see what I mean? You got 4 times 20, you got an extra space. So what are you going to do with the extra space? So what some people did, and when we started this, there were only 7 tarot decks on the market. Now 10,000 or whatever. Okay, but that space on those sheets, on those European presses, how is that space going to be used? It's a card space, right? So some people did a little card deck description on that. And a couple of people did these cards that are like, okay, if you draw this card, what are you getting? Something really mysterious. Some people just put in a blank card. Yeah. like just going to be a blank card, right? But now the technology's all different. Now the cards are essentially printed out like everything else is printed out. You know, first it was block printing, then it was those printing presses with the 4 color separation, the big presses, and now the cards are actually printed out one by one, just like all publishing has happens. So, I mean, now it's a really high-tech operation. So the quote new deck of Tarot of the Spirit, on Tarot of the Spirit's 20th anniversary, U.S. Games, which is the publisher, issued a new deck, took it out of the 4 color separation model with those big presses, and took it into the new high-tech one by one, you know, kind of like the print-on-demand model or whatever. my voice just went because it's not really technically like print-on-demand, but it's something like that, you know, the way that they're producing the new decks of cards. And what they did was they took all the paintings out of storage. The paintings are in an art storage facility in Stamford, Connecticut, with many tarot decks are housed there, and you know, with climate controlled whatever. So they took all the paintings out and they scanned them in New York on art scanners, you know, the highest tech art scanners, and they redid the whole deck, and with the very high tech scanning. So these colors that you see in Tarot of the Spirit, those are the original colors. And so we weren't able to even see the original colors. It had already been in print 20 years before we even could see the original colors because of the 4 color separation process that they used. Okay, now we're doing our review. We're still doing our review. Okay, so what we have now is we have a 78 card deck, sometimes with 79 cards, and then an 80th card, which is usually a title card, right? So now, if we go to the essence of the 4 suits, so we have 4 suits. Remember, we have 4 suits with 10 cards each. Okay, so what are the 4 suits? So in the Tarot of the Spirit, they're fire, water, wind, and earth. Okay, this is still standard because that is going to correlate with other decks, which fire corresponds with wands, and they're not always called by the same names, but essentially it's wands. Corresponds with the playing cards, that's clubs. A wand is like a wooden stick, and a club is like a wooden stick in the playing cards. That's what a club is, right? Okay, so we have the fire, then we have the water. What does that correspond with? Cups in a lot of tarot decks, and what in the playing cards? Hearts, exactly. Hearts, because water's all about emotion. Fire is all, and the clubs is all about spirit and energy rising, you know, and energy rising through like a wooden stick, you know, and it could be like sometimes I think of it like a stick of willow, like a willow wand, where if you stick it in water, it can actually bloom. It's filled with sap and it's filled with energy, you know, that's life force energy. That's the wands. Okay, and they can also burn like fire, right? And the cup holds water. Okay, and so that is, and it's hearts, and that's all about emotion. Okay, and the third suit is called wind in Tarot of the Spirit, and what does it represent? With swords, exactly, the swords in other decks. And what are some of the other symbols? What is it, Maura?
Oh, no, I was thinking about the other, never mind.
Okay, what other symbols represent swords in the wind? What other major symbols are in that? Feathers. What was the first thing you said?
Spades.
Oh, spades. Right.
How do you remember the spades?
Okay, spades. Okay, a spade. That's spade in the playing cards. Okay, spades are sharp tools. They're blades that you dig in the ground, like a sword. It's like a sword edge. Okay, so the swords represent the mind, or consciousness, or mental. Okay, because why? Because what the mind does is it breaks things down into the smallest components. Like you could cut them into the smallest components to understand them. Gets to the point, becomes clear, tries to analyze things, and that's all symbolism that has to do with the swords and the spades. Okay, why wind? okay, now we're going to get into something different. We're going to get into, let's say, feathers. Okay, feathers cut the air and they rise up and down on air currents, and this all has to do with consciousness. Something about consciousness. When the swords turn into feathers, that has to do with enlightened consciousness. So this is essentially the suit of wind. We could have called it air, but it is the one that is most moving all the time, is our intellect, our consciousness, our mind. We're always trying to figure things out. So wind suited us, and it worked with what we were doing at the time, so we went straight to the elements. So to roll the spirit goes straight to the elements, right? Instead of the thing that represents the element, like the sword, we went straight to the element itself. So right now we've got fire, water, and wind, right? Those are the three suits. And then what's the fourth suit? Earth. Okay, and what are some of the symbols in other tarot decks? Pentacles and diamonds in the playing cards. And what else have you seen that represents discs,
Stars.
coins, stars? Okay, exactly. Okay, so those are all elements of earth. Okay, I'll mention the star. We see the star or the pentacle a lot. Okay, in general, what the pentacle represents is the human appearing in manifestation. It's 2 arms, 2 legs, and a head, basically. It also represents the star. 5-pointed star represents the 4 elements, which would be fire, water, air, and earth, plus a 5th element, which is an overarching kind of spiritual element that binds the whole thing together. So holds all the rest of the elements. So those suits, in fact, are cumulative, going from just the spirit sort of life force energy that is the fire, and then the water, the emotions coming together. And it's said that the fire is the father energy or the male energy of the universe, and the water is the female energy of the universe. Those come together, they give birth to the mind consciousness, and then consciousness manifests on the material plane in all these different ways. So like go back to the blade or the spade for a moment. So the spade is the mind preparing the ground for planting, and the ground is the earth. What are we going to plant? How is it going to come up? So the 4th suit is cumulative and contains all the fire, the water, the air. We're like the body of the 4th suit, earth, right? Okay, and so theoretically, by the time, so if we're on a path through these 4 suits, and we go through the fire, we go through the water, we go through the air or wind, and we go through the earth, by the time we get to the 10 of earth, we have walked through 40 mysteries. Remember, it's a minor arcana, 40 mysteries, and they call those initiations. Every single card is an initiation. We're doing a review right now. This is the structure of the deck. Okay, so it's like 40 initiations that we are walking through. Okay. Then next for our review, this is a test. Everybody's getting graded. Then next for our review, we have 10 cards in each suit. So now we see that each suit represents some certain aspect of ourselves or of life, right? Okay, now we have 10 cards in each suit. What does the number 1 card in all suits represent?
Origination.
Yes, it's origination and the beginning. The 1 card is the beginning. So if you have a 1 in any one of the suits or an ace in any one of the suits, it's a beginning in that suit. So it's a new energy in spirit, heart, mind, or body, right? Okay, what's the number 2? Attraction, exactly. So in the number 2 position in all the suits, you have something being attracted to something else or something coming together with something else. That's the number 2 position. Okay, this is all outlined very deeply in Kabbalah and Tarot of the Spirit, my book, and this way of looking at it. Okay, so the number 2 is the power of attraction. What about number 3? Creation. So the 3rd position, creation. 3rd position. Okay, it's 3 cards in, the number 3 in every suit. You've got some kind of birth that's happening out of the connection that comes in the number 2. Okay? Number 4. What's number 4?
Stabilization.
Stabilization. Okay, in the 4 power, the 4 energy, everything stabilizes at least for a minute. All these energies are all moving all the time. So in 4, everything comes to rest in a certain kind of configuration, a certain position of stability or solidity. And then comes number 5 in every suit. What's number 5 represent?
Confusion.
Yeah, cataclysm, chaos. What was that?
I said calamity.
Calamity. They all seem to start with C.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So all of these things of all this shaking energy, right? Shaking it up and breaking it down in the 5s. Okay, and that can either happen to us or we can create that when we need to take something down. Okay, I don't want to go into that right now. What's the energy of the 6 in all suits?
Synergy balancing.
It's a synergistic balancing right in the middle of the suit. And the 6s are really good cards. Essentially, the 6 cards are the place we want to live from. Okay, and these positions that I'm outlining should cross all standard tarot decks, but they don't necessarily. It depends on how much knowledge the creator of that tarot deck has. Okay, so the 5 is the shake it up energy. The 6 is a new kind of level of stabilization that's synergistic. So it goes beyond the 4, right? What about the 7? 7s.
Transmutation.
Yeah, transmutation. The 7s are all cards of transmutation where the energy is going to be shifting and turning into something else. And then the last 3 cards become a little, I think they're a little bit harder, the last 3 cards in each suit, because they vary a little bit between suits depending on what the element of the suit is. But so as you just mentioned, the 7 is the transmutation, but it's also a vision quest. I call it a vision quest card. So the 7 is where we're going deeper and searching for more information and new information that we didn't previously have, right? So it's some kind of new information. Then when we get to the 8, what happens?
Symbolization.
Okay, so the 8 is a card of symbolization, and at the 8s we're able to name, theoretically, we can name something that happened during our vision quest period. Because the vision quest, we may just be searching. That's a 7. And in the 8s, we are able to move into a deeper understanding of what has been happening all the way along and even name it. And so it turns out that the 8s are usually a place too where the energy of that suit speeds up because, we get it now. So something starts to move. But that's going to vary depending on what suit it's in, because, for example, in the suit of water or cups, which lends itself toward stillness, we actually speed up by slowing down. Like, in other words, we might drop into a deep meditation in the place of stillness. And that's actually going to speed us up. It's very Taoist, but so it'll be different. But in the suit of fire, you're really moving fast because fire's moving fast, and water, you're dropping down. And in the suit of wind, you're having all kinds of realizations that are coming together, that like lights going on, in some ways. And then in earth, you're realizing what's important on the material path. Okay, and now I'm not going to go any further with that because otherwise we'll start getting into individual cards, and I'm still on the overall structure. Okay, what about the 9?
Absorption.
9s in all the suits are the power of absorption. And so what absorption means is it means all the things that have happened between from the 1 to the 8, we're taking it all in and we're absorbing it in our subconscious, like on a deep subconscious level. And then we're getting ready to essentially walk it out onto the planet. What were you going to say?
Integration.
Yeah, we integrate. On the 9s, we're integrating everything. The 9s are considered the culmination of each suit. It's a pure culmination of each suit. The power of 3 times 3. 3, again, is the birthing energy, the generation energy like that comes out of the 2. But at the 9, it comes into a really big fullness of itself, right? Then when we get to the 10, we essentially are already moving to another level. We've completed that cycle, and even though it's the last card, it's a 1 and a 0. So the 1 means, what does 1 mean again? A new beginning, right? And then the 0 is the unknown. So it's like every 10, when we get to a 10, we're kind of stepping off the edge. So this also tells us that every card is a cycle. Okay, and so we're moving through the process. And as we move through the process of each of these cycles, do you see how that is an initiation? We are passing through an initiation. So we can use the cards for meditation, to grow our own soul and to pass through these initiations, you might say, and we can also use them to do readings, for ourselves, and for other people. Okay, so that is basically the framework of the tarot, and then we go into the major arcana cards, and there are 22 of those, and those are going to also fit with this framework. But I'm going to talk about that specifically in a lecture on the major arcana cards. So right now, this is just a review of the structure of the deck. We're learning the structure of the deck because when we learn the structure of the deck, it tells us the flow, or like the outflow of the movement of the cards. And once we know that, actually that gives us the power of prediction if we know the structure and what follows what. Okay, so that's really important for us to know, even though in the end, what we learn is, though we learn it in a linear way, it's actually not linear. Because when you start to do readings with it, what we step into is a sea of synchronicities. And so we're going to have to go there later, because right now what we're doing, I'm trying to break this down step by step by step. And right now what we're doing is, in a certain sense, putting the whole tarot deck in a grid just so we can view it and understand it. Two things I want to say that are special and different about Tarot of the Spirit are that it is a Kabbalistic tarot deck, and it's also a shamanic tarot deck. So, okay, when I say it's a shamanic tarot deck, what does that mean? Does anybody know what that means?
Does it mean working with the elements?
Yes, it means it goes right straight to the elements: the fire, the water, the air, and the earth. So it goes to the very basic ground-based elements in a certain sense. Yeah, and so it's working with those, the 4 directions of the elements, the 4 aspects of the energy fields of the elements. Okay, what about Kabbalistic?
It's on the tree of life.
It fits on the tree of life.
It fits on the tree of life, and the tree of life is the major tool of the Western Mystery School tradition. So the tree of life is a diagram, essentially, and that diagram is used as the basis of teachings in the Western mystery tradition. And by following the diagram of the tree of life, we can use that as a step-by-step path for spiritual advancement. And it's used in many ways, the diagram of the tree of life. So not all tarot decks are Kabbalistic tarot decks. That means not all of them fit on the tree of life. They would fit on the tree of life if somebody put them there, but a lot of the creators of the tarot decks are not students of the Western mystery tradition, so they don't realize that the tarot deck actually fits on this ancient diagram of the tree of life and can be placed there. And if we place it on the diagram of the tree of life, it's an outflow pattern, an outflow showing the creation of the universe, essentially. And if we place the tarot deck on the diagram of the tree of life, suddenly our knowledge is increased 1,000-fold. I don't know how to say how much it increases our knowledge when we study the tree of life. So the tree of life is a basis for as I said, for the Western mystery tradition, but the Western mystery tradition has included the esoteric Judaism, which oftentimes, doesn't necessarily use a Kabbalistic tarot, might more and more is using a Kabbalistic tarot, but is using the Tree of Life to decipher mysteries in the Bible, because you can actually use this 1 through 10 system of the Tree of Life to look for mysteries in other places. It's used by the Gnostic Christians to attain direct knowledge of the mysteries of the universe through step-by-step internal physical path. And the Gnostic Society uses the tarot, the Kabbalistic tarot deck. It's used by the Masons, who also employ the Tree of Life and also use the tarot deck, depending. Not everybody uses the tarot deck, but the Tree of Life is basically an outline for the practice of Masonry, and that was my doorway in, was the Masonic doorway. And so my past and my history is Masonic, and so I walked into the Kabbalistic tarot through a Masonic doorway. Okay, and then the Rosicrucians also use the Kabbalistic tarot deck, and I was also a Rosicrucian. I was in 3 different mystery schools before I started my own. Yeah.
Well, I would say like one really easy way to sum it up is like the Tree of Life is kind of like a chart for the human psyche, and whereas the cards are pictorial representations of the human psyche. So they align together, but one is like a graph and the other is pictures. And when you add it all up, the different archetypal states of mind equal 78. It's just like 78 modes of kind of thinking, of being, of living, of experiencing. And to me, that's how I look at the tarot cards, the 78 archetypal states of human consciousness.
Exactly. It's like a map of consciousness, a map of human consciousness. Right. No, it is. It's it's
like a map
exactly right. It's a map of human consciousness, the Tree of Life, and
development, right?
And development, right? It's development of human consciousness. So we can study the Tree of Life and use that to develop our consciousness. So Tarot of the Spirit is so much based on the Tree of Life that every single tarot card in Tarot of the Spirit was painted on a diagram of the Tree of Life. So each one both fits in a particular position on the Tree of Life, plus it was painted on a diagram of the Tree of Life, which means that the whole Tarot of the Spirit is holographic. All of Tarot of the Spirit is holographic, and I don't know if there are any other tarot decks that are the holographic Tree of Life like the Tarot of the Spirit is. There may be at this point, but I don't know. I know Tarot of the Spirit was the first one in any event. So that gives you a rough outline of the structure and the structure of Tarot of the Spirit, and tells you how Tarot of the Spirit is both a standard tarot deck, but also it is a tarot deck of the Western mystery tradition. So those two things working together. So if you learn the system with Tarot of the Spirit, you can use it for any tarot deck that is a 78 card deck. Right? Does that all make sense? Any questions about that? That's our super fast overview of the structure, not only of Tarot of the Spirit, but of Tarot in general. All right. And so then beyond that, you can study in depth any one of the cards, any one of the suits, the family cards or face cards, or the major arcana. Okay, so that's just our intro. Okay, Pacific Mystery School, signing off.